Let's take a closer look at the carbon pile test tool and how it's used to load test a battery. The rotary knob is used for increasing or decreasing amperage. Before connecting to a battery, we want to make sure it is completely off to prevent sparks when attaching the alligator clamps. Attach the clamps directly to the battery post. Because we're going to be drawing a lot of amps, connecting to the cable could otherwise provide an inaccurate reading, and I've also seen this overheat the cables. Make sure the cables do not contact anything other than the battery post. On some applications, there isn't enough room to safely attach the clamps without risk of shorting the battery, meaning the battery needs to be removed before it can be safely tested. The gauge on the right is an analog voltmeter, and currently it reads about 12.5 volts. The gauge on the left indicates DC amps, and it has 3 levels of information. On top is the actual amperage, or load being applied to the battery. The middle says amp hour, meaning if your battery was rated for 100 amp hours, it should be tested at 300 amps. I'm not a big fan of this approach because the amp hour rating of a battery isn't always listed on the battery itself. The bottom says battery cold crank rating, meaning if your battery is rated for 400 cold cranking amps, it should be tested at 200 amps. Our battery lost its labels, so I don't know its cold cranking amp rating, but I do know that most Group U1 batteries are rated for about 150 to 350 cold cranking amps, so it should be capable of at least 75 to 175 amps. For the first test, I like to see what amperage the battery can produce without dropping below 10 volts. And I've got about 100 amps. Now I'm going to repeat this test, but at 9 volts. This time, I've got about 140 amps. This battery is 5 years old, and maybe that's all the amperage it's rated for, so this is a passing test. If used in below freezing temperatures, I'm not sure that'd be enough amperage to reliably start this engine. In an upcoming video, I'm going to use a DC amp clamp to test actual starter draw on a few KOHLER engines and see how much amperage is really necessary. Thanks for watching, and if you'd like to see more of this type of content, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe.